Hello everybody again, this is Daniel Herman, speaking for class log number 2 for College Writing 101. I'm here today to discuss Bruffees, really not entirely sure, whichever one you choose. I'm going to choose Bruffee because it sounds like a fine French dish. Yes, Kenneth A. Bruffee. Today I'm going to be discussing a little bit of the thoughts and opinions from a short course in writing. There was quite a bit to read, not just in terms of length, but in terms of actual material and subject matter to really understand. So I want to really dive right into it with 3 topics that I felt really give a clear understanding of what was good about the writing that I took something away from. I want to talk about the preparation of work, the process of that work, and then ultimately the presentation of that work. So the 3 P's. So prep. No, what was it? Crap. So one thing that I think Bruffee did exceptionally well with his book was set up a very different way to approach actual writing than I had ever actually done before in the past. You hear a lot of teachers in school, like elementary and high school, you start with your topic. You have the 3 body paragraphs, and then you have your conclusion, and then now that's kind of in terms of an essay. But I think that kind of holds true with a lot of writing that we do, especially when we're writing very opinionated articles or very strong pieces of work that we want to share with people that really have information that matters. And me personally, I've never actually thought about writing something from the middle, as Bruffee describes, and then with what I've kind of planned and brought together in the middle, that helps define an intro way better. Now, I haven't actually put it into practice, but it does seem like something that would certainly alleviate a lot of the stress resolving around writing an intro and then backing it up. Instead, write the substance first, then back up that substance that you have a pretty good grasp on with that intro. And I think that's something that will certainly benefit my writing, at least down the road. That kind of goes into the plan. That's kind of the prepping. You're actually writing the material. In terms of the planning, what he described for me isn't necessarily new. It's taking a bunch of different ideas and really learning them inside and out, writing about them, describing them, and then putting them on a page as the best possible way you can. Thank you, motorcycle. It's very similar to how I work. I tend to really brainstorm on a subject matter, find the right one, and then really gather all the information from it that I can, draw from multiple sources, compare and contrast a lot of different things. Now, he does talk about something that I've never really considered, and that's this, as he puts it, this self-deprecating tendency that a lot of writers tend to have, where we question ourselves on planning, like, well, is this really worth it? I'm writing about something that people already know about. This isn't worth their time, so why is it worth my time? And I've certainly fallen into a pattern very similar to that throughout my time as a writer. And, thinking about it as the way Bruffee does, he describes it as, well, you obviously want to write about it, so write about it. You're bringing something new to the table that maybe some people have never seen before or heard before. So I feel like with that in mind, that kind of going to the planning side of things, that certainly opens up, for me personally, a lot of different venues to continue finding subjects that I want to write about. I know there's stuff that I love to write about that I'm sure people have written about billions of times. A little extreme, but you get the point. So being able to, I think, sit down and confidently approach a piece and say to myself, I'm going to do this because I'm bringing something valuable to the table, is a fantastic way to approach a work, because it sets yourself up for success right from the beginning, instead of saying, I don't want to do this because someone else has done it. Ugh, angst. And that's dumb. And I'm seeing that now, as Bruffee has kind of put it. And that's something that's really cool. Finally, the presentation side of things. And that kind of ties into the beginning, where, sure, you're bringing someone to the table, but make sure it's interesting. Make sure you're writing something that people want to read. And it's almost kind of like this domino effect that he sets up, where you really plan it out how you want it, and you do it where you're happy with it. Then instead of being like a robot and starting from page 1, you start from page 3 in the middle, and you bring the substance in the middle where you normally would, but without that intro looming over your head. And I think that is a really brilliant way to approach writing, because it opens up so many different venues in terms of just bringing information that you normally probably wouldn't have brought in if you were hindered by some kind of intro and the parameters of an intro. Now, I don't know if these parameters are going to be here in this class, because I feel like in the past there have always been this looming eye of the professor kind of setting us up to write a very specific way. And not having that, which we will see in due time, I think is something that's going to be really cool. So, yeah. So there's a lot of things that Bruffee does exceptionally well, I think, with this piece of writing. I think while he may kind of approach the writer or the reader, he may approach the writer as if they're a little too young or inexperienced or naive. I think his work does kind of touch upon a more experienced level of writing and understanding, as simplistic as it may be. He does tend to repeat himself a little bit in the book, and I found that I was actually kind of skipping over some of the paragraphs in each specific section. Each individual header brings something new that's really, really good, like his discussion of reasoning, why you want to write something, the different kinds of conversation, narrative or reasoning, how you discuss and work with people and describe what you're trying to do to other people. And one other part of his method that I didn't get to talk about as part of the planning, the prep, and the presentation was how much he emphasizes working with a peer group and having people read your work with a different eye. Everybody, when I feel like when you're writing something, at least for me personally, you tend to kind of fall in love with what you're writing, and you tend to kind of lose sight of problems or mishaps or just general shortcomings that come with writing, just to all of us. And so by bringing in another person, you really kind of eliminate the chance for those shortcomings to be represented in the final product. And that's something kind of invaluable for the presentation. And I think being able to have someone look at it, say, hey, this is great, this is what you can do better, is not necessarily something new, but having it still be relevant, I think, now, and have someone really say it the way he does, I think is incredibly invaluable, and he certainly does that really well. I feel like in terms of limitations, I almost feel like if you are writing from the perspective of, I'm going to start in the middle of my paper, and I'm going to kind of build up around it, I almost feel like the scope of a paper can get overblown. There might be lots of unnecessary information that you may need. Now, not to say that pure editing and revision doesn't come into play, but I think starting from the center, as cool as it is, may lead to kind of a danger zone of, I have too much information in my paper, what do I need to get rid of? Well, it's all relevant in some way. Now, we may have chances to write 20-page papers if we really want to do so. I know that might be kind of fun for me, but not for everybody. And so being able to, I think, understand how much is in a paper, what needs to be in a paper. I think maybe he could have touched upon that in that section a little bit more. And I feel like the constraints of having such a broad range of what you can do in a writing could probably lead to a little missteps along the way of, oh, I have too much, or I have too much freedom, where do I go from here? But overall, I think the book is pretty good. One of the few things I didn't like about the book were these diagrams. What are they? Diagrams. Ugh. We get how to write. We get how to write a 3-paragraph essay, but I feel like he kind of babies it a little bit too much. This is where you put the introduction. This is where you put the proposition. Now, like, they're really cool concepts, but we get it. It takes up a little bit too much space. I feel like instead of being page 46 or 41 to 56, it could have been like 41 to 51. So there's a lot of clutter, but suffice it to say, I think it is a pretty good book. I feel like in terms of my writing, there's a lot that I have done with it. There are a few things that I haven't, particularly that start in the middle structure, go to the beginning, and then kind of go from there. I like that a lot. I'm excited to see that, as loose-ended as it may be, but I think it's going to be fun either way. I'm curious to see how I think others will take it as well, because I feel like this is certainly a different writing style than I've ever been taught, as similar as it is to the ones that I've been taught. So I'm very excited to see where it goes. So yeah. A Short Course in Writing by Kenneth Bruffee. I feel like they should have like a calorie count next to his name. Haha, stupid joke. This has been Danny Herman again. Thank you again for watching. If you got this far, please tell me if you got this far, because I will give you something. Seriously. I may give you food. I will give you food. Have a pleasant day, evening, night, afternoon. If you're watching this in the dining hall, enjoy. If you're watching this like in the bathroom, good. So yeah. Thank you very much, and this has been Danny Herman.